I've started the stream.
I've started the stream.
Oh, but this is super secret stuff.
And then I stuck my dick in her, and it was fine.
So,
But the mess. Oh my god.
The mess.
everywhere.
Everywhere.
I was there. I saw it. It was disgusting.
I saw everything.
On the same thread, the what should be the 0th law of robotics is, of course, don't stick your dick in it.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Because that's about the end of any civilization.
Well, that should also negate the other 3
laws of robotics.
Laws of robotics.
You're suddenly allowed to kill yourself and everybody else if someone stuck their dick in you.
I think that's fair.
I'll teach you not to dick the robot.
It's a good thing we discussed this before the show started so that we'd be ready to talk about it
when
exactly.
It comes up. Because that comes up generally.
This isn't the COC cast. We already did that.
Oh, fuck. Damn it.
So, Jason, the other thing I want you to have open is those 3 Privateer Press forum threads. So that you can read the...
Yes, you turned on the volume sliders.
Yeah, I don't want to do that. Cool. So what else
Hello.
do we need open?
Hey.
Jenny on?
We're live, so
Hi,
just so
everybody.
you know.
Hi.
If you're
Hi, Dr.
You're in the wrong
Nick.
spot.
I know,
if you're
they're
gonna come
moving
back
me
in front of the
tonight.
camera and just kind of.
But you don't have anything on.
No.
Oh shit!
We were
Well,
talking...
that was a waste of booze.
solicit boobies, then you at least
Complete waste of boobage! We were talking about how quickly our podcast would... The chat would degrade if that was the case. If Jason were replaced by a young vixen with a low-cut shirt. That really, whatever we say would be completely non-consequential.
By the way, we're talking here, guys. Please listen.
Where did this thing come from?
This
My
thing?
old place of work.
What? Well, I
the
them
microphone stand or the standee?
No, the picture.
The band.
picture. That it's
I like
the
how
mirror
they put
to
it
that
up
one.
so that we could see it. So
Yeah.
that we would stare at
Oh,
it.
okay.
I think we should
Sort
put that
of.
behind Jason, actually. If we did
Yeah, let's do
this.
that.
It's the not Sorsha. It's very carefully not Sorsha. It is close to, but legally distinct from Sorsha.
Not legally distinct enough from my Game of Thrones things that were up on
Society
6. They got all taken down.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Apparently, Mother of Dragons is copyrighted.
really?
Yeah.
How can
See
you
how that
copyright
looks.
the words "Mother of Dragons"?
No. Needs to go
Go in the hole!
this way.
Why won't you go in the
Needs
hole?
to go this way.
Which way to the beach? Is it over here? Is it over
Over here.
here?
That's pretty cool.
That
Now you
is
got the
pretty cool.
Moosemachine logo on one side, sort of. And Sorsha.
And not Sorsha yelling at me behind my
So what makes it legally distinct from Sorsha?
Because it's not Sorsha.
Oh, just because we've said it's
No, it literally is not Sorsha. If you look at the two,
They're different.
they are different people. Like they're actually very different. The only thing that's the same between the two is they both use a arcantric halberd, and they both have that funny hat. Go for it. Yeah.
Come sit on my lap.
Hey, baby.
Jason,
That's how
trying to
my-
get his wife to make the show better. I like the way you
You're getting
get there.
viewers.
That's
I don't
how
think
my
our
mom
viewers think that's right
proposed
either,
to
by
my
the way.
dad. My dad was
Sometimes
playing
too,
Santa
but there's
Claus
at
at
least
Christmas
3 people in
time,
the chat.
and my mom sat on his lap,
Yes.
and he said, "Well, little girl, what would you like for Christmas?" And she said, "A ring."
That's really sweet.
Yep. And then they got married 2 years later at Christmas.
All right, so that's the first one. Then we're going to talk about practical terrain. So you can't read the 2016 SR, so you're going to need to talk from the 2015.
Oh, I'm supposed to be paying attention, right?
Yeah.
No, it really doesn't
Shoots
matter.
fucking boobs at me.
Yeah.
Damn it, I missed
So I'm reading from the terrain.
it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
So read through that once to yourself. Focus for
Yeah.
a minute, because
Okay.
that's going to be your job.
Mostly as a general rule, the table should have 5 to 7 pieces of terrain. Place closely enough.
Can you remember
to
what's
make large
changed?
Open areas.
It's 6 to 8.
I like the
now?
terrain we had set up on Monday. It was good. There was like 6 or 7 pieces there. It was nice.
The size of the terrain stayed the same.
Yep.
The recommended size is 3 to 6.
Yep.
I think the amount of terrain may have changed, but the big one was they've
It was
added more
6 to 8
stuff
now.
to what is
Restricted list?
restricted. Yeah, there was a
Yeah.
bunch more on the restricted list, like
Yeah.
a whole lot more.
The distances?
The distance is now 3 inches, and is it still 2? I thought it was 3.
No.
But the
it's
big thing
now
is
2.
there can be no terrain in the deployment. Is it no terrain in the deployment zone?
You really can't remember it very well.
No.
That's good.
Memory? Remember
Memory?
that whole memory thing I've got?
Well, it means that I won't get in trouble because it's very obvious that you don't have the actual document.
Well, we're just going to say there's been some changes in the 2016 as of what we've seen in
Yeah.
the beta, but
Well, you saying that means that I don't get in trouble because it's very obvious you don't have the document in front of
Right.
you. Because otherwise, I could be in trouble.
Is the 2016 going to OTC? Is that what you're asking, Brad?
I don't know if they're going to. Well, they definitely will not use it because it won't be canon until June.
right.
It won't be canon until June.
Yeah,
No canons till June.
no canons till June. You hear that, Signar?
You hear
Fuck
it?
off with the big guns. I
You
like
hear
my
big guns.
I like my Enigma foundries where they are.
Oh, I need to get my shirt on.
Oh, did you see that? No, I didn't send that to you guys.
Fuck, man.
I gave Russ a new list for next week. It's my Nemo 3 list.
Oh, that'll be fun.
So I thought,
Wonder what I
A,
can
he
take
gets
that
to...
ignores electricity.
Yeah, but let's not do that to him the first time out.
I don't bother taking it.
Well, there's nobody in our... there's not a lot of things that can ignore electricity in our little meta.
You're right.
Unless somebody brings a lightning troll.
Somebody cracks it.
I could throw down... Well, that's it. There's nobody that's...
I
playing
could
E
grab
list
Becky's and
and make a mocky E-list.
yeah.
You could throw down... you could throw down Kruger 2 with a bunch of druids, and I'd be able to ignore most of it. But like, there's a whole lot of ignoring going on there. But that's not the point. The point is that that's a super fun list,
Yeah.
and you have all the disruptions.
I was gonna say that's gonna be. I'm really gonna have to not play convergence into that list.
Well, but,
Or just-
or play convergence, and Russ has a fun time with the
Killing
decent
convergence.
Yeah. It doesn't happen very often.
That's true. I could.
Maybe you crack it.
I
Maybe.
have two choices. I could let him live the dream with Syntherian and just disrupt everything with the Prime Axiom.
I'm looking forward to the moment that he realizes that Nemo's gun is his command range.
Yeah.
Or his control range.
And then the other way he could live the dream is I play Axis into him, and those POW 10s get to kill like 87 things every turn.
Yeah.
Or trencher cannon crews. I don't know, that's what Minty says.
Minty always says more light artillery.
Sorry, Minty.
Don't be sorry. Light
I'm
artillery.
not sorry, Minty.
Light artillery could be good. It's not, but it could
Basher
be.
says, congrats on joining Muse. Thank you, Basher.
Hey,
Basher.
thanks.
We're pretty stoked about that.
We are super stoked.
Yeah.
Yeah. That should
Muse is fantastic.
blow the doors off of this little podcast. We should be rolling in the Benjamins in no time.
Well, we've already got 4 viewers.
If you know a guy,
Whoa.
that's
Slow
it.
it down.
We've already topped out.
Slow
So
it down.
All right, 4 minutes till the
we're
cast.
rolling in a guy named Benjamin. This
Screw this
sounds disgusting.
So I pretty much just need incorporeal rules and the terrain.
So Incorporeal rules go into War Room.
Yep.
And
I already got it open.
okay, perfect.
It'll only take an hour to switch between the two. Fucking War Room.
Beard lint,
War Room.
man. What is up? Oh, the best part about this new iPad is War Room will
Is-
stay open in the background.
Oh, wow.
Seriously?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, mine doesn't do that.
Mine does sometimes.
War Room doesn't rotate. Have you noticed that? Once its shit is locked down.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I'm here. I think you can turn rotation back on. So,
Yeah, you can, I think.
but this is like, normal
Yeah.
button
Oh,
left,
first.
button right.
I love
Okay, so reference.
I love button left,
Incorporeal.
but the problem is it always sits on the volume switch.
the finger sensor on the new iPad is so much better than my phone one.
Oh, really?
I was absolutely fine with this finger sensor until I got that blood blister, and now none of my fucking devices will detect my thumb.
So the first time ever, June tried to open my iPad and she locked me out.
Oh.
I haven't had to use the password since I set up the iPad. I nearly ended up locking myself out.
Oh no!
Like there was one of those you must wait a minute to try again, and I'm like, okay,
bullshit.
I better start remembering because I don't know how many times Mac starts because I know that there is a limit.
There's a hard lock. Yeah,
where it just hard locks it. And then I got to call Apple and be like, hey, I just forgot my password because I'm a dumbass.
My favorite little feature of Google accounts is if you type in an old password, it will tell you how long ago you changed your password from that.
It's pretty fun.
And that is the most useful thing ever because I rotate passwords. I've got 6 or 7 of them for mission critical things, and I rotate through them. So it's like, you changed that 3 months ago. Oh, okay, it's this password.
Yeah, my problem is that I am terrible at changing passwords to start, but that's never been a real problem. I'll get hacked someday, but I've never had anybody try to. I don't have any money.
Yeah, exactly.
There's nobody gunning for
There's
me.
no way you can actually make money off hacking.
No. If somebody hacked me, they'd be like, "Oh, I wasted a lot of time." But the funny part was that the only thing that's had to change that over the years is the password rules keep changing.
Yes,
and every 7 months or so, somebody adds another, I have to add another letter, or, that fucks me up.
There's a really great XKCD about that, where we haven't actually made passwords more secure. We've made them easier for computers to guess. Mm-hmm. Whereas you can make passwords that are easy for humans to remember, but are incredibly long, and making it longer is better than just using extra weird characters.
Yeah. All right, we are 1 minute away. How's our audio there, internet world? Oh, and we're changing the format of the lightning round slightly tonight.
Oh.
Everything stays the same. You guys are going to try to answer
every
the question.
Every question is a minty
except
question.
Jason...
Keep track of the stream.
Jason's going to keep track of the points on the stream tonight.
So we're going to have a stream winner as well.
Yeah, so we'll have a stream winner as well. Which will be cool because I have a feeling that... I tried to throw in some gimme questions there, and there should be some good ones. But... I have a feeling that it's going to be just a lot of going, I
wonder if there's a way that we can have a little, 1, 2, 3, a website where you can press.
Oh, yeah. All right, hit that button, Jason.
Are we ready, folks?
Yep.
All right.
Welcome to This Death Clock Has 60 Minutes, the explicit All War Mahords news podcast. It's 8 p.m. Wednesday night, and the Death Clock starts now.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Death Clock. It is, I want to say, episode 18.
Jeez,
I should actually start writing this shit down so that I
at some
know.
point.
I do all these special notes, and I never
actually
check which episode this is. I believe this is episode 18. This is a big episode for us because this will be the first directly broadcasted to the Muse Network podcast. So, this is really going to blow the doors wide open. Pretty much, once you're on the Muse Network, John guaranteed us that women start tracking us down and all of that kind of stuff. I'm going to make a quick note to Jason. Could you do a run and turn off the AC unit just to get that background noise out there while I introduce our topics for this evening and our hosts? Over here, on my right tonight, which is confusing me as much as it confuses you, but G's been tired of being tiny in this chair. He's like,
you look super tiny in this
Will, you need to try the chair, man. It's super awesome. So G's a little bit tired of sitting in the chair, so we decided to switch it up tonight. And I'm like, sweet, I'll sit in the comfy chair. I just sit and drink anyway. I don't really know anything about this stupid game, as my playing lately has told everybody. Anyway, to my right is no other than Semi-Automagic.
Hello?
Semi-Automagic is our local PG. He does a lot of judging at events, creates a lot of events, and that's really why we keep you around. That, and every once in a while we get to borrow your minis. And it's his fault that we play this game. Over on the board, sitting on the stream, down here
I'm in the corner.
is if you're watching live is no other than Maelstrom. Maelstrom will be on the board with those people who are watching the show live, listening to your questions, repeating your comments back to us so that you can participate. We are an active participation show.
We are.
So if you are listening to the stream on the Muse Network, or you are subscribed to us on iTunes already, if you're one of the 100 subscribers or something we have now, one of the cool things that you can do is log in every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, or Eastern, if it's the clocks are switched up, that thing that happens. Anyway, if you tune in at 8, we are doing the show live on Twitch. So you go onto our Twitch channel, you subscribe to it, and you can participate with Maelstrom is there. That's what he's...
and I'll pass the questions on to people who know.
That's his job. It's his job to keep you entertained.
Yes.
And that's about it for the pre-ramble on the show. For those that are new to the show, please join us on Twitch. We love having you around, and we love having your feedback. We especially love it when we screw something up and you correct us.
Yeah, because that saves us a lot of time. Normally, we have to get home, read the rules, swear loudly, then post a correction. If you can actually get that done, like in a 30 to 40 second period, we're way better off.
Exactly. Now, we are a news broadcast, and that means that we only have an hour, and we're only going to give you pertinent information.
Excuse me.
Most of the time, the wrong pertinent information.
Well,
But let's start by talking a bit about news for this week. This has been a good week, really. I mean, we've had
we finally have some news.
We had like 3 quiet weeks, which was great because we were on vacation. The first one, of course, is they leaked that errata is coming. Well, not leaked.
I was gonna say leaked is kind of hard word for that. Will Schick confirmed on Twitter. Mm-hmm. There was a couple of people asked him, and what he said was, "There's no final date yet, but an errata is coming soon." Now, soon TM, if you've ever purchased a Blizzard game, you'll know that is anywhere between 30 seconds and 16 years. But we tend to see one around this time.
The conjecture was that it was going to come today. It did not come today. Maelstrom, we had some comments from the boards already.
Is there a new novel coming or something as well?
I believe there is a new novel or 2 new novels that were announced from Skull Island.
For the Fluff Lovers.
For the Fluff Lovers, I believe there's a couple of new novels that have been announced this week, which is awesome. I actually really love the books.
Yes.
There's been some really good ones. And I kind of keep track of that kind of stuff. So if you can figure that out there on the boards, guys, tell us which books are coming. That would be great. Mm-hmm. We'll talk about that in a second. But the big thing being errata, it didn't come today. We were kind of like floating on the boards, waiting for it to happen. And if you've watched our show before, you know that if errata hits, PG Semi and I will be live and broadcasting our comments and criticism. Hopefully we can grab Marc Andre at the same time, maybe Menoth John, maybe another member standing of the community. Menoth John's a good friend of the show, so we try to bring him in when we can, and that's often a good time to bring him in. So if the errata drops, as soon as the errata drops, if you are subscribed to our Twitch channel, you will be there with us, and we'll go through and get comments from people who know more than we do. So, guys, just because the errata conjecture is happening, and of course that's going on the boards right now, what do you want to see? What do you want to see there?
What do I want to see take the Nerf bat, or what do I actually think will?
Well, I mean, that's up to you. Do you think something should take the Nerf bat, or do you just want to see something in your faction that's improved, fixed? What do you want?
Well, as a Convergence player, I want to see more fucking Convergence models. Now, I fully...
I don't know if errata can fix that.
Yeah, I know. I fully understand how that's not actually going to happen.
All mercenaries can now work for COC.
Oh my god, so broken. So awesomely broken. But what I think we'll see is we'll probably see something done about themeless, or at least a couple of the themeless. I don't know whether we'll see a complete overhaul, like themeless can no longer refund points, or themeless can no longer break FA, or something silly like that. But I think we might see some kind of change to themeless.
Or maybe just a few themeless that are really broken. I think there's a couple that are acknowledged to have some problems in them. People are still yelling about Bradigus. I don't know if Bradigus really needs another thing happen to him. I mean, you don't need to take him out of the meta. People have learned to deal with him.
I don't think Bradigus needs the nerf back.
I think maybe
I think there are some troll issues.
Yeah. Meat Mountain troll.
Yeah, and I think there are a couple jank lists in other places. The one thing that I have heard bandied about is the hope that maybe this won't happen in the errata, but maybe in the new Steamroller, we'll see a FAC on Warcasters.
Yeah,
so you'll only be able to take one of each Warcaster.
Is that a big problem, do you think? Is there enough people that are like, I only play P. Haley, E. Haley, that's it?
No, it's Haley 1, Haley 3.
Right.
Or Veil 1, Veil 2. There are certain factions that's kind of what you do.
Right. So
because they've got a caster that's really bonkers and there's 2 or 3 versions of it. I don't know that would actually happen. It's just, I think it would be interesting.
Well, it would change. It's a year, right? So, or 6, not even a year half the time. So you could do that and not really
mess things
up for too bad. I mean, let it go, let it ride for 6 months in this current Steamroller packet. And
that is one of the wonderful things about Warmachine is that we have this thing that affects only tournament play that lasts a set amount of time. So you can make a change, see what it does to the meta, and if it borks it, you can chuck it out.
Yeah, you can chuck it. So going over to Maelstrom, is there something you'd like to see in the errata?
I'd like them to leave Veil 2 the hell alone.
I just started playing.
I just started playing Veil 2. Leave the goddamn tier alone.
Do we have anything from the boards? Guys, on the boards, if you've got a few ideas, things you want to see, just yell them out. I will put mine in while we wait for that to come through, because we do have a bit of a delay on the broadcast.
No tears. No tears in SR.
Tears for fear.
I think what I think is going to happen is Marc Andre was bang on. I think Warders are going to lose Weapon Master.
Yeah.
That's my conjecture. I don't think they're going to mess too much with tier lists. They might mess with EE. I heard a great thing from the guys in Party Foul. Complete conjecture on Greg's part. Love Greg to death, but I'm pretty sure this is complete conjecture. Is he heard through the grapevine that what they're going to do is throw Mountain King into one of the early tiers, so that you have to put...
if you want EE, you have to eat up 3 or 4 beasts with a Mountain King.
20 points, yeah. So I wouldn't... And you know what? That's not a bad way to balance that list, because suddenly now you have to have a Mountain King in that list. And Mountain King's a damn good model, and it doesn't get played enough. So suddenly...
Now, if they make that Mountain King or Glacier King, I don't think that hurts that list.
No, I don't think so at all. Now, on the other side of that, I don't think too many other things are going to get the nerf hammer too hard, but we'll see.
You know, I just thought the one thing that they could do that might fix a lot of tier list annoyances and actually just general spam annoyances is create a hard FA.
Yeah, well, that's
FA 6 or something.
That
more
is
than anything you normally need, but less than anything you would spam.
Which is enough that Bradigus doesn't get hit hard, EE doesn't get crazy hit hard, but the guys who are about to throw down Chromac with 10 Argus or whatever we'll rethink that. Okay. Passing over to the boards, do we have a couple conjectures from the boards?
It seems to be EE and Runes is the biggest.
Yeah.
So the biggest Trolls are the whipping boy?
Yeah.
Trolls got it good right now.
And he says he wants Deepwater change to cause Warjacks to be inert, not removed from play.
Just so that we'll play Deepwater.
All
right,
Deepwater is not going to happen.
Stop trying to make Deepwater happen.
It's not a thing. But we'll talk about that later on tonight. So a couple of the other things that have come through the pipeline is a whole crap load of resculpts.
Yep. So beginning of the year, it's resculpt time.
So one of the cool things is about a week and a half ago, I think it was Discount Games posted all the things that were being discontinued, all the SKUs
that were going
that got discontinued, and everybody was like, "Oh my god, the sky is falling!
Where's Proteus? But I need him for my nothing ever."
But then, of course, immediately, like a week later, all the resculpts and all of the resculpts, at least the 3D renderings, look pretty damn cool.
They look amazing. Yeah. There's a lot of people who are going to buy Proteus by mistake.
Yeah.
It's so sad.
I kind of want to buy him just to display him.
He's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Don't worry,
the model is amazing.
Yeah.
And I love him fluff-wise, and he's so bad.
Yeah.
Now, there's an errata I want to see. I want to see Proteus drop 2 points. That's it.
That's fair.
Just 2 points off the top.
Yeah.
and
Drag
he
is
good.
so
Beautiful.
janky
He's
though.
easy.
I've lost a Proteus
2 points
several
off the
times.
top with Proteus and hurting.
All right.
I'm right back in a Legion.
All right,
Fuck.
so other things. So we see a new Thunderhead came out. Thunderhead looks almost exactly the same.
Yeah,
There's
they
slight
just
changes,
they
but
left
it's
off
not
the
plastic kit.
Yeah, and they left off the turntables.
Yeah. Proteus, Gristle, Denny 2 are the ones that I can think of at the top of my head. There was another one as well. The other thing that's interesting is both versions of Sturgis are now available so they'll now be shipped out.
I think he was the last of the Kickstarters to
Yeah.
make it out, wasn't he?
Yeah, and he's completely nobody plays him. But I think a lot of that
I've
has to
seen Sturgis one
Sturgis
occasionally.
has shown up, especially the Signar Sturgis isn't bad per se. He's a
just-
really middle of the road caster that does a lot of cool stuff.
He's just another caster in Signar.
Yeah.
Haley 2's out there.
But it was also hard to get. You had to go and you had
Yeah.
to order it from the online store. You had to, it was a special order type of thing. So I think we'll see Sturgis on the table now that he's available in store. At least new players will go out and buy him because he's a new caster and people don't play him.
Yeah.
Last but not least, let's talk about SR 2016. Was the beta test was put out to the PGs this week, so some people have had a chance.
Yeah, you guys had it good.
Yeah, we were
because
playing
there
the
are
beta.
not a lot of places that have Monday night
Yeah.
gaming sessions
Yeah.
that have a PG who was on top of things.
Yeah,
so
we were-
I managed to snag you guys a set to play with Monday, and so what did you guys think of it?
So now you're not allowed to talk about it.
I could technically talk
you-
about some bits,
you-
but I'm
be
going to
good.
keep my mouth shut.
You
Yeah.
don't want to get in trouble. So, so cool things for us were the new terrain rules. Although, off the top of my head, we've already admitted that I can't remember all of them, but there are changes. There are cool changes. Basically, those things that you throw down in your tier list, those extra things that you throw down in your tier list, still have to adhere to the terrain rules, so they can't be all the way down the board where some people were putting them before, where you could put them right in the middle of
Axis's tier, you could put rack markers 20 inches up.
Yeah.
There are very few scenarios that have
Chromax,
something that's
new
less
tier,
than 20.
Yeah.
That's all the way up to 20.
It was basically, in some scenarios, it was an awesome way to create unbeatable bunkers for yourself, unbeatable little bunkers for yourself. That's changed. There's a few little things that make that a little bit better, and a lot more stuff has been put on the restricted list than ever before. And if you don't know enough about how this works, we'll talk about it later tonight, about the restricted and unrestricted terrain. So the stuff that is unrestricted now is going to change a bit, and then there was 4 new scenarios that we got to test.
Yep.
One is a 4 flags, 2 objectives scenario.
Yeah, it's like 3 flags doubled, one on either side.
Except they don't go away, so they don't. It doesn't revert back to 2014 all of a sudden. And now your objectives are both sitting very center
Right in the
board,
middle.
and you've got these 4 flags, and the enemy flag is literally inches over this sort of invisible line. So that was an interesting one. We had the pit, which I think we all agreed we loved.
pit.
The idea of the pit is great.
Yeah, the pit
I
is
believe
beautiful.
this harkens back to sort of one of the ones in the book, where there's a zone, a big circular zone, dead center, with only 2 flags, your flag and your opponent's flag kind of across from each other. And it's an interesting idea because you just need to run for the pit. And you can contest or you can put your caster on your personal flag. So the caster can still kind of sit floating around in one zone.
Yeah.
Third was I want to say it was, which one is it? Recon, that has the 2 zones that used to be kind of kitty cornered.
Almost exactly centered. but
Almost
not.
exactly centered, but not quite. But they've turned it so that it's now basically lateral compared to where it used to be, with 2 flags dead center of those zones. Or not flags, sorry, objectives, dead center of those zones. That was really friggin' cool because it's changed the way that little one worked, where you were like, I could either go over there and have to, work in my opponent's zone, but he's got this objective that's way up in the corner that I have to beat out to win it, which is easy for him to protect. Now, because they're in the zones, you have to kind of commit to either protecting your own zone or taking your opponent's. And the last one, damn it, was 2 objectives, 2 flags, but done in a square. And a
Kind of
diamond.
an iron cross.
Yeah, which was another interesting one because, again, it's going to force you so far into your opponent's zone to take care of business. So those are the basics. Jason, you and I got a chance to play
The pit.
the pit.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
Oh, I love it. I think having a circular, just one zone in the center, really is going to make things interesting.
Yeah. Now, sorry, I was talking a lot on that one,
Nope.
but you're not allowed to talk about it.
Yeah.
So you liked it. What was it that when you're looking at that scenario? What's your plan of attack?
Oh, get as many dudes as you can in that circle and try to push you out or keep hold on it somehow.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you can dominate your own flag in that one, or
Yes, you could dominate your own flag, so you can kind of.
It's interesting because you can keep your caster back there, and
You're kind of floating, but not that far.
yeah, it's
Like,
not
it's
that far away.
really-
It's still risky, so
Yeah.
So-
it's
I have heard complaints that having to go that deep on so many scenarios is going to be a kind of going to render some of these dead. What did you guys think about that?
I don't. Well, the thing is this was only 4.
Yeah,
And there's
we haven't seen all of them.
Yeah, there's going to be 8 usually, something like that.
Anywhere the
Between
least
8 and
least
12?
we've seen is 6, most we've seen is 14.
Okay, so there's going to be a lot more of them, and I don't think it's a bad thing to have ones where you now see the thing is that people don't want to change their primary casters. They don't want. They have their pairing and they love their pairing, and their pairing deals with whatever it is that they've got to deal with. Whenever you have a moment like this, it shakes up the meta. It makes you think, well, shit. Now I need a caster that can also go stand in the center, which every faction has a caster or two that are awesome at doing that. And often we don't use those casters because we want the utility caster and then our jank caster.
Yeah.
And that's not necessarily the best thing. That means we stagnate to 2 casters. If I all of a sudden have to think, well, what happens if I have to do the pit? That's going to change the way I think about things.
Yeah.
Now, yes, all 4 of these particular scenarios were pretty committal. But I think there's ways around that commitment. If you do have to throw, say, Kruger down or something like that, where you don't want to commit as far down the board as, or Morvana, whatever, where you don't want to commit that far down the board. But I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's a good thing. Anytime there's a shakeup, and again, it's only a year.
Yep.
And then it'll change again, and because there's a lot of stuff I hated from last year. Do we have any comments from the boards, from anybody who's had a chance to check it out?
No, not really. Minty's just saying something.
Fair enough. All right, so that's our beta test. We're actually 10 minutes over the line on that one, but there was a lot of cool stuff that happened this week, so I thought I'd give it some extra time. Mm-hmm. Now, it's time for...
Rip from the forums!
Right. So Rip from the forums, what we do is we go to the forums and we find out what the hottest topic is. And some shiznat happened over the last couple of days.
Oh, yes.
On the
Fun
forums.
with Incorporeal.
Go to the forums. There's a great section of the forums called Rules, War Machine and Hordes Rules Questions.
And if you are playing in tournaments of any level, whether it be your local one or big con level ones, I highly suggest minimum of once a week, go in and read pages 1 and 2 of that forum.
Yeah.
Because it will stop you being surprised by the weirdest jank known to man.
Well, and the big thing is this is where the infernals kind of live. And
Yeah.
if you don't know what an infernal is, that is our rules lawyer of rules lawyers. That is the big boss man, and what they say goes.
I know this is sort of the wrong term, but I would say rules judges.
Yes. Yeah.
There are judges that judge at tournaments, but what I mean is, whereas you have a rules lawyer who will argue about the rules, these guys actually get to say, this is the way it works.
When I say, yes, I should say judge. Yes, judge is perfect. They put down the gavel, and once the gavel is put down,
that's the way
everybody's
it works.
got to live with it. And it's very rarely that gets redacted.
That's true.
It's usually, if an infernal makes a ruling, they've thought about it long and hard, and very rarely do they make one just sort of off
Occasionally,
the cuff.
well, I've never heard of them doing it off the cuff, but occasionally an infernal can override an older ruling. Mm-hmm. And that's always the thing. The newest ruling is the law.
Okay, so here's what happened this week is we had a simple question. It was about a rules interaction. And the simple question, Jason, could you pull up that question for us? It was the Incorporeal and Force Lock question. Simple question. Guy goes to the boards, he plays a game, and this happens. What's the question?
Are Incorporeal models, a la Feralgeists or Scorn Immortals plus UA, affected by Force Lock from Janissa or all those room bearers around her? Given that Force Lock is not on the weapon, is not a magic attack, animi, spell, or feat.
Okay. Simple question, right? So I think what we need to do before we look at what happened is we need to talk about, give us the basics of Incorporeal. So
All right, I'm gonna drop some knowledge.
Drop some knowledge on us, Maelstrom. What are the
All right,
basics?
I'm gonna read this straight out of War Room, people. So y'all have this. This model can move through rough terrain and obstacles without penalty. It can move through obstructions and other models if it has enough movement to move completely past them. Other models, including slammed, pushed, or thrown models, can move through this model without effects if they have enough movement to move completely past it. This model does not count as an intervening model. This model suffers damage and effects only from magical weapons, magic attacks, animi, spells, and feats, and is immune to continuous effects.
Okay. Read that last sentence again, because this is where things get janky.
This model suffers damage and effects only from magical weapons, magic attacks, animi, spells, and feats, and is immune to continuous effects.
Okay. So, here's where the Janissa thing comes in. So PG, how was the interaction ruled originally?
So, the ruling was Force Lock is a effect. It is not a spell. It's not on a weapon, so it's not part of a magical attack made by a weapon. It's not an animi. It's not a feat. Therefore, this aura, so it's none of those other things. So this aura is not affecting an incorporeal model.
Right. So here's the thing, folks. Currently, according to the current infernal ruling, which is now,
The law.
it's now the law, but it's also under review because now the infernals have edited themselves quickly and said, "Okay, hold on.
We're looking at this.
We got to look at this a little bit closer because suddenly what happened is like 6 other questions pop up on the forums because this actually changes interactions with a bunch of other things. Because now, if you were doing friendly auras, the same effect.
The same thing happens. A classic one is the Styxis Blood Witch along with the Raiders. So the Blood Witch gives them tough, which is really nice. Except when they go incorporeal with her mini feet, suddenly they lose tough.
Right.
Or, Terminus and his friendly neighborhood
all
Banes.
the Banes. Supposed to be able to go incorporeal and suddenly
charge through all the other
interesting things happen when a ruling is made and shit happens. So let's talk a bit about rules interactions in Incorporeal because there's a bunch of interesting stuff that happened because of this particular ruling. If it's left as it is, which we're not sure that's going to happen, but if it's left as it is, that changes a lot of stuff.
It does. And now, I don't think it breaks a lot of stuff, but I think it will definitely cause people to suddenly have to think about it.
Yeah, you'll have to say...
It will have to be a conscious decision. Do I want my Blood Witches to have tough or incorporeal? It won't be I get all the things. Now, I'm trying to think of a non-Crix one because so it doesn't sound like I'm picking on Crix.
Crix gets hit hard by.
Crix gets sort of it in the nuts from that particular ruling.
Well, here's some other ones that came up. There was an interesting that changes an interaction slightly with free strikes and incorporeal as well. No, it doesn't. But that came up because of the ruling changes made people start thinking about
incorporeal models and charging.
But we'll talk about that in a second because that's really interesting as well. But the big thing is people. I think the Infernals will figure out a way to balance it because there's a lot of powers that wasn't part of the design. It wasn't. You were supposed to be able to give incorporeal to all of your Tuffalos, whatever. That was part of the plan. They shouldn't have lost all their powers because they're incorporeal.
Yeah.
They just were supposed to get that for one round. It's a feat, not a negate all your other cool stuff.
Yeah. One thing, when we go on to just talking about Incorporeal itself and weird interactions, one thing I'd like to bring up that Maelstrom actually read out that a lot of people miss is Incorporeal models are not intervening models. Mm-hmm. You can see right through them. Mm-hmm. Nobody ever shoots through the Banes to the back line. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how many times I've seen people on a table. It's like, aha, I will put this Feralgeist in the way, and you will not be able to shoot at my caster / beast / important solo. And I have to sit there and keep my mouth shut because I'm not the one playing.
Well, shout out to Shane Waddy, because in the middle of my biggest game ever against Body and Soul, when Body and Soul was still a thing, against our good friend Tim, he was the one that pointed out that Kane could ignore all the shit. Because he was like, and of course, in his Shane Waddy way, which if you have the pleasure of playing with Mr. Waddy, he likes to walk over and go, what about this? In the middle of your game. And unless it's a tournament game. He's not going to do that in a tournament game, but he's awesome at that. And he reminds you of shit that you forgot about, which is awesome.
Which is so weird, because it should all be basic rules that we all know.
But you always forget about little things. And, of course, some people have an eidetic memory for all the rules, and will be able to have that at their grasp. And be able to...
we enjoy exploiting it at every action.
So that was interesting. So cool note. Remember, folks, Incorporeal is no... You could shoot through those bitches. Yeah. Do it. They're like flags. Secondly, but the thing is, because they're on the table and they're this model.
Yeah, they are a physical object.
Like, I can't shoot through. I can't get my laser line there. No,
it's like flags blocking line of sight. I don't know how many times I've very carefully walked around a flag with a model.
Yeah, well, we've all done that one. Well, maybe not all of us. I bet you.
They are also Incorporeal, by the way.
Yeah, Mark Andre probably has not walked through a flag. Or has never walked around a flag. All right, so number 2 was an interesting. Because Incorporeal's brought up, now, of course, there's other questions that come up. And this had to do with charging through an Incorporeal model and the Incorporeal model being able to take free strikes, which is not something we ever think about when that's happening. You're just like, oh, shit, I'm Incorporeal. Yep. Damn it, he's charging my back line. So, what happens?
Well, the trick is, as soon as you choose to make an attack with an Incorporeal model, it suddenly loses Incorporeal. Mm-hmm. So... that actually suddenly generates a bad board state because the Incorporeal model has just become Incorporeal. The two bases are overlapping. Mm-hmm. So what do? If I was standing there on the day, I probably would have said least disturbance. If it's on the far side, it goes more forward. If it's on the close side, it goes more back. What has actually been ruled, I find very interesting. So
let's get Jason to read on the board. If you could pull up the Maudlin's ruling, because it's in quotes right in the question. The original ruling that caused this was Infernal Maudlin posted this, which is 1 and 2. There's 2 points. If you want to read those out for us.
I don't have those.
It should be interaction, Incorporeal, free strikes, and backplates. It's in your show notes. The third quote down. Anyway. Let's go on then while he's figuring that out. We can get him to read it out in a second. It's one of the links. So the basically, it's that you then the ruling was what?
So what now happens is when a model, the model becomes corporeal again. Mm-hmm. We rewind the movement state,
and you're
back. Back to the point at which it would have encountered the model's base. Mm-hmm. We still resolve the action, in this case is the free strike. Mm-hmm. If somehow that model dies, then the charge can continue because you have been refunded that movement.
You've been refunded the movement.
If that model does not die, then of course the charge will end because you probably, outside of some weird-ass case where the model moving through is like a gargantuan 4-inch reach, and it still is able to make the charge even when it's stuck on the other side, but in all other cases, it's going to just stop.
Okay, so Jason, read us out the original ruling that caused this change, because this is important for everybody to know, that if somebody charges through you and you're Incorporeal, you can stop that shit.
Yep.
Go for it.
Okay. If a model is advancing through a different model and loses the ability to do so while the bases are overlapping, it moves to the last legal position and resumes movement if possible. The same is true if it is moving through terrain and loses the ability to do so. Also, if a model is involuntarily moving through a different model and loses the ability to do so while the bases are overlapping, it stops moving and you apply the rule of least disturbance.
So this was meant to deal with all questions regarding Spirit Chaser, Tree Walker, and Free Strikes from Incorporeal models, which is great because suddenly you were like, oh shit, I could stop charges with an Incorporeal model. Which, if Tim had done that to me while I was charging Bane through him, he might, or sorry, not Bane, Kane through him, he might have been like, well, screw you.
Yeah.
So that's really interesting. And that kind of shook down. So that's we have a ruling on that, and that's kind of about it on that topic. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're actually going to move on from that to focus. We're going to focus tonight on Practical Terrain 101. We talked a bit about the SR 2016 packet, beta packet, which dropped this week, which has some terrain changes. We can't go into detail on that yet because the only person that could go into detail who has any sense of memory on this shit is PG Semi-Auto Magic. I'm generally too drunk to remember what happened.
That's my plan.
That's his.
I can leave you guys unattended with the packet because none of you are going to remember the next day.
Remember it. We've covered terrain before. If you want to listen about terrain, I want to say episode 3 or 4. We talked about it in detail. And how what terrain does in a scenario. So
yeah, if you need to find out which episode it is, you can go to our Wikipedia article. And if there's no Wikipedia article, you can make a Wikipedia article and put all of the different episodes in it.
Yeah. If you want to do that, that would be awesome. But what we're going to talk about tonight, and this is going to be a contentious topic, I'm sure. We've got 15 minutes to be contentious, ladies and gentlemen. Not a ton of time.
There's not much time to be contentious.
Well, probably be more like 20, and we'll probably run 5 minutes late. We're known to do that. But here's the deal. And this came up on the boards on the Facebook page today, even. We got a kind of contentious. We got 2 different factions when it comes to terrain. But before we get into that, let's talk about sort of the official SR 2015 way of dealing with terrain. Jason, could you give us kind of an abbreviated version of Terrain 101, basically, when it comes to the Steamroller packet?
Right. Just in general, terrain should always be placed that so when somebody wins the roll, there's a meaningful choice to which side of the table they want. That's just should always be there. Okay. No piece should be insignificantly small or extremely large. Pieces from 3 to 6 inches in length and width are the best. Okay? Forest hills, rough terrain, shallow water, trenches, and wreck markers, good stuff. Obstructions and linear obstacles, also good stuff. Exact number types, ideally 5 to 7 pieces in the SR 2015. Do not place terrain within deployment zones. Okay? Keep your terrain out of your deployment zones. Unrestricted terrain pieces cannot be placed within 2 inches of any other terrain piece. Space the terrain out, but not so much that you have giant areas of nothing. Try to keep it, spaced evenly and make it meaningful. Okay? Restricted terrain cannot be placed within zones. Remember, restricted terrain is obstructions and linear obstacles. So within 5 inches of flags or within 5 inches of objectives, keep your terrain back. Additionally, restricted terrain cannot be placed within 5 inches of any other restricted terrain piece.
All right. So we have several different types of terrain, but we have 2 general types. We have restricted and unrestricted.
2 categories, I would say.
2 categories.
2 categories.
And in the current packet, and this changed in the 2016 packet. I know it changed. I can't tell you exactly which parts changed, but there's a lot more restricted terrain than there ever was before. But the restricted terrain was contained to 2 items, correct? And those were
Obstructions and walls.
Obstructions and walls. You'll notice that there's a couple things missing from the terrain. Things that aren't suggested, quote unquote. And one of them is deep water, which comes up all the damn time because if you're a Crix player or a Gator player, you want deep water everywhere.
Sometimes you can just make your own.
Yeah, you can make your own deep water. So we know. So really, when you're setting up a board, because when you're walking around and you're setting up 30 boards at a tournament, how many pieces of terrain do you generally put down on each board?
Well, if I'm setting up a 30-person tournament, I'm putting down probably the minimum because, my God, that's a 64-person event. But at a normal steamroller, where I have
boards.
Basically all the tournament in all the pieces in the world, where I'm probably fueling 8 to 10 boards.
Yep.
What I like to do is, because it's a sort of a 5 to 7, I like to do a D6 plus 3. Obviously, the one result I will ignore, but I like to just add that extra sort of randomness into it. My rule of thumb is to over terrain rather than under terrain,
right?
Because, like was said in the packet, it should be meaningful. And a big open field is not meaningful terrain. That just says you prefer a shooty army to someone. Meaningful terrain should be, well, maybe it's out in the open, but there's a couple walls, on one side, or maybe it's dense forests. Like you see, seldom do you ever see a battlefield that is perfectly set up for one person or the other.
Right. I mean, if you want to, people argue fluff all the time when they talk about, well, it should be tons of terrain because in real battles, it would be done in this. Well, that's not true because at this particular, if you were to look at the sort of medieval to Napoleonic style of war, they chose battlefield specifically because they were big open plains. That's why you have the Plains of Abraham. That's why you have these open, why so many battles were fought in farmers' fields in Britain. That's because you wanted to have a clear run at your opponent, and if you hoped for a hill or a trench or something that was there to give you some advantage, but you generally had to build that in advance. So I think that's interesting that you're right. We as players don't want a big open field. We want something that's meaningful. We want to be able to choose between one terrain and another. We definitely don't want a big green open board. No. But at the same time, there's too much is a thing.
Yes, absolutely.
Especially in tournament setting. In friendly game, what the fuck?
Now remember, we're talking about a steamroller tournament. We're not talking about your regular game night unless you want to stick to the steamroller rules. We're not talking about when you're at home playing with your buddies. When I'm at home playing a game with my wife, we often will do a siege scenario, which is something I don't think people play enough.
Dude, I don't want to hear about you and your wife. Your evening.
In a siege scenario, you have different sized armies, but you'll have significantly different terrain. So one side will have 5 or 6 walls and 2 or 3 pieces of cover and a forest, and the other side is a big open plain.
Right.
So it gives you a really interesting problem that you suddenly have to work at. It's like, how do I defend this with if all of my defenses are up by 4, how can I get away? What can I get away with? Or if I've got nowhere to hide, if I have to run across it. So with the assumption that we're working on Steamroller, we should also have it in our heads that this terrain on the table is an abstraction. So when you slap down a forest piece, it says in the steamroller it should be 3 to 5 inches across. Well, that's not the area that has trees. That is the area that is dense enough that it can no longer be seen through. Right. So when someone makes the argument, well, if when you toe onto terrain where your base is supposed to be infinitesimally into that piece, a lot of people will argue, well, that's not really covering. I can see his entire base from where I'm standing. Well, Not really, because he is into the part of it that is dense enough that you can't see,
Right.
and the rest of him is in the part where it's hard to see him.
And if you've got something that's 2 inch, a base model that is 2 inches across, if we built realistic terrain like a train set builder, you wouldn't actually be able to fit your model anywhere because there'd be shit in there'd be little fluffy pieces of crap everywhere that would cause it to fall over and be completely useless.
So I did quick numbers using the scale found in the IKRPG, and a 4-foot table is about a click and a half across. So I have no idea what that is in American, but it is a very small
2/3
area.
of a mile, something
Yeah,
like that.
2/3 of a mile on a side. If we were building realistically sized terrain, a standard house would take up like a quarter of the table.
Yeah.
So we are very much playing an abstraction. Let's all remember that.
So we've got tons of stuff going on the board, I'm sure.
There's a lot of
If you
bitching
want
back
to
and forth.
if you want to throw so basically what's going on the boards right now?
Well, we're arguing about whether weather should still be a part of this, and MK1 rules, and yeah, some people want way more rules regards to terrain, and
I think the level of terrain rules is okay for tournament games because you just can't manage too much more.
Now here's we're gonna we know what the different types are. We talked a bit about what was restricted and unrestricted. We talked a bit about not putting stuff in a zone. Restricted terrain cannot go into zones and cannot be sitting there blocking a colossal from being able to get to a flag entirely. That kind of stuff, and that applies in the SR 2016 rules. From what I understand, is that applies to what you lay down as a player as well. So if you've got a tier benefit, you can't sit there and surround your flag with stuff to stop a colossal.
This comes from the double wall problem.
Yeah.
So there's a wall on the table that is, say, 14 inches up. Janissa moves up between the walls and puts a wall 4 inches apart. Janissa and the Warcaster back up to the second wall. A Colossal, they are now immune from all melee because the Colossal can't reach them over the standard wall. And the Colossal cannot move any closer because it can find nowhere to place its base.
If trolls would just figure out how to make circle stones, they wouldn't have this problem. So yeah, that is being modified in the 2016 rules. I don't see that come up often enough that it's like a huge issue to me. I'm like, oh god damn it, you fucked up my entire thing with my Colossal. Although that would suck to be in a tournament.
Oh.
It's no longer... Here's the thing, folks, and I'm going to go on a diatribe here, and it's going to be very short.
okay.
And we've argued a lot in our local group about terrain because one person really, really wants to play with deep water, and I'm fine. If it's a friendly game, fine. I'll play with deep water, and I'll put it on my side, and you won't get to play with it, and you'll be really pissed off, and whatever. We can play with deep water and make it meaningful and all that type of stuff, but here's the deal. We're having this discussion because what we want in a game, a player wants in a game, especially at a tournament level, is a fair battle of minds. I want to sit down at a table and have a fair battle of wits with you. I don't want it to be a straight rock, paper, scissors thing. I don't want it to be chess where, we have simple defined, 10 simple defined movements within a game. What I want is a fair battle of wits. And that fair battle of wits can't happen if the terrain is so skewing that if I get stuck with a bad side, that now I have to deal with the terrain as well as you. It's no longer a battle of wits. It's now a battle, me versus the terrain versus you.
Yeah.
You get an advantage that is so skewed that suddenly it's no longer a true battle of wits. And that's what the real discussion's about. I'm not saying that in a friendly game you should not play with X, Y, Z. I am not saying in even a tournament game that we shouldn't have prettier looking terrain. You can make it as beautiful as you want. I kind of don't want my models falling off of some fancy badass thing because, I spend a little bit of time painting my models. But that's neither here nor there. That's a personal preference. But from a balance perspective, as soon as you make the terrain so skewing that we can't have a fair battle of wits, then why are we playing the game? It's no longer a game. It's a you got a role at the beginning of the game that gave you so much that it's not worth us really doing this at this particular point. So I'm done with that diatribe. But let's talk a bit about the difference between flat terrain versus 3D terrain, because I think that's a big contentious argument between players right now.
We're bringing out all the arguments tonight.
Yeah.
But I mean, you're a 3D terrain builder, so
Yes.
you should be the first one to be shouting to the sky, "Give me 3D terrain! Give me 3D terrain!"
I love 3D terrain. I love it for the way there is nothing that makes the heart swell faster than looking across a table with beautiful 3D terrain and two fully painted armies. Let's face it, that's why most of us got into it. Because we're playing with war dollies, and we have grown up to the point where our war dollies look way better than the G.I. Joes. Like that's why we're here.
Pew-pewing,
We are
advanced level.
at advanced levels. I love making 3D terrain because it looks so cool. Like, you can do so much stuff with it. You can hide all kinds of really neat little little things to find for the players and all that kind of stuff. I love 3D terrain. Now, that being said, I'm a PG. I run events. I go to every place known to man, the pub, the game store, people's houses. If I had to carry 3D terrain to every location I went to, I would go mad.
Yep.
And there are the two big benefits of 2D terrain are portability and storage. I can have an entire tournament's worth of 2D terrain in a shoebox, and have room left over to put a clock on top.
Yep, and 2D terrain is relatively new. I mean, there was people that were cutting out
Good 2D terrain is
pretty
relatively
looking,
The oldest form of 2D terrain is the stuff that people would cut out of paper out of the back of. I think it was No Quarter used to have like zones and templates and stuff in the back of it. So I would say that was the first kind of 2D terrain we saw. And then for a while, people were cutting it out of felt or shelf liner, window screen, all that kind of stuff to give 2D terrain that at least had a color.
Right.
The big innovation has been the ability to print. Onto nylon fabric material at a relatively inexpensive price.
Mouse pad material.
Yeah,
is the
well,
main one. And also
the outer shell of those is almost always a nylon a nylon composite over top of adhered to a rubber substrate, and the ability to print on that stuff has just opened everything
Absolutely.
up.
And as we said before, it's not that we hate terrain. It's not that we want all of our. I mean, yes, War Machine tables. When you look at the traditional that other games table and how like it was these big deconstructed city sites. What was always weird to me watching those games is that guys fought in the same location over and over. It was like you have this beautiful table at your local game store. It's gorgeous, except you always play on that table. At one point or another, don't you kind of like? Well, I know that this building's really awesome. If I can just get to that building first, like, isn't there sort of like a moment where it's just like, okay, I played on this table 600 times now.
Here's the counter argument to that. If you had 4 or 5 of those tables that were really nice like that, even if you were playing on them a lot, I think you'd find it would be more like the historical recreationists.
Right, yeah.
Right? This is the battle of Sector 427. Can the Tyranids pull out Sector 427? Because normally this is always won by the Space Marines because they always go here. Right? Like it suddenly goes from when you have that kind of what I like to call a scenic table, it goes from having a random battle in the Thornwood
It
to
becomes a thing.
the Battle of Corvus.
Yeah,
I love it. To me, that is where 3D terrain shines. I know it might seem kind of weird that playing over and over on the same terrain is bad, but I really like the way it presents you with a new set of challenges. It's just like the stuff on your cards doesn't change, but the way you use that model takes it from being a good model to a bad model to an amazing model.
All right, so we've gone 100%. We've covered the gambit. We're basically saying at this point we like everything.
We like terrain. Terrain's good.
Here's where the third bone of contention is coming up this evening, and that is stuff that's not used.
Ah, yes.
It appeared in the rule book. It's on the back of cards. Therefore, it should be in every game.
So, I have
Two different types.
I have Ayana, and she's ducked behind this big long rack of crates that have just been unloaded from this coach. She jumps up on top of it, flips back her cloak, and casts a spell on the ironclad rushing towards her. See, that can actually happen in Warmachine. But the type of terrain that is a thing that you can hide behind, and also is more than an inch thick and a thing that you can stand on, is never used. It's the same thing with deep water. These are two pieces of
The
terrain.
kraken that emerges from the depth that you didn't even know was there.
Yeah.
Suddenly,
Suddenly that unicorn cannon crests up over the edge of the pond. That both of those pieces of terrain are incredibly thematic and wonderful, but they never see the table.
Well, they don't see the table
In
in
tournaments.
Rarely. I mean, very rarely in tournaments, unless if they showed up in a really big tournament, there would be like
Yeah.
hands raised.
I have actually seen that hand go up. I have been at the other end of this is not supposed to be deep water, is it?
Yeah. Now, I'm sure that this is being discussed on the board. So, Jason, if you could sort of parse something that's going on over there, but I'm going to ask G.
Just take all the swear words out.
Yeah.
So it should just be
Well, there's like a sentence
the.
then. There might be a sentence.
All right. But no, we understand it.
We're ignoring that. Actually, we're ignoring this part of the conversation. we're still talking about goddamn 3D terrain.
Okay. So why does deep water? I mean, because we talked about this extensively on Facebook today. If you're part of your local meta Facebook, it'll come up at one point or another.
Yep. Somebody's going to ask.
Somebody's going to go kick the puppy, and the barking will begin.
Yeah.
Why do these two types of terrain very rarely? Because I have seen in local games in particular, the crates show up that you
Obstacles.
can jump, obstacles that you can jump on top of. But how come deep water and obstacles don't show up very often or at all?
Obstacles, I think it's hard to have a thing that you can knock your models off of. I think obstacles are purely a physical problem, because you have to design something that is not a wall, that you can balance a model on, and is at least the full inch wide.
Right.
So I think most pretty piles of crates have a couple of the smaller crates on top, or the top crate is open and is full of ammo or something like that. So as just a physical impossibility to put a model on, so everybody just says that's a wall, right? And that's why it disappears. I think it gets collapsed in because it is so close to other stuff.
Okay, deep water.
Deep water, on the other hand, generally gets left out because it is punishing to one of the two systems that we play together, as opposed to the other.
Severely punishing, not a little bit punishing.
Yes.
Massively punishing.
The fact that deep water destroys, basically just removes from play a warjack and does not do the same thing to a war beast, is the killer.
Yeah.
Is what it is. So when you have something that that just massively affects one half of the game to the other, nobody's like, oh, well, that only affects my faction. Everybody else is playing with it. Why doesn't you? Yeah. No, it's like 50% of people are just annoyed that you have put this piece on the table, and to just have that not happen, just take that type of water off the table.
Other side of that, in my argument, is always it also gives a massive advantage to very few models in the game.
Yes.
The 6 or 7, I want to say, models in the game, tons of the minions models, and 2 or 3 of the Warmachine models that can fully submerge. It is such a game skewing thing to be completely immune to all attacks as long as you're underwater. So the Kraken, as long as it's in the deep water, can shoot the shit out of you, a friggin' 20-point model, but you can't touch it at all. And if you try to, you drown. That is kind of game-breaking to a certain degree. If you can teleport somebody, a jack into deep water, that's kind of game-breaking. And that's what, going back to that whole, I want this to be a battle of wits, not you just trying to throw.
Yeah, you're not fighting against the
push the
terrain.
win button.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, parsing what they have to say on the boards, and then we're actually going to have to move on. We have tons more that we could talk about, but terrain is always this one in particular.
Yeah.
But we talked about what to do, and you can do whatever you want, is what we're
Yes.
trying to say.
Yes.
We're trying to say, and the reason our local meta plays this way is because most of us play tournaments.
Yeah.
And we want to play tournaments, or we want to play our friendly games to get better, so that when we go to a tournament, we don't suck. At least that's a lot of the time what we're doing when the three of us are playing friendly games. We're trying not to suck at the next tournament, which we three are all very good at sucking. So, don't worry, you're not alone. But that's why that happens. Jason, sort of give us sort of a parse of what the board thinks on all of
I
this.
was just told that models in deep water cannot make attacks.
Okay, so the Kraken would have to emerge,
They can't
make an attack.
engage when they're in deep water.
Okay, that's cool. But the point is that
It
you
still
still
sucks.
you still get to sit there and not get attacked until you choose to.
There's a bit of discussion regarding 3D terrain and hills. I've seen hills that are basically just straight up and down, no
Yes.
progression.
We call those stepped hills.
Yeah, I don't like those. You can't toe into them.
Mhm.
So you're either all or nothing. You're either
Yeah, you're balanced
All
or your
on the hill
models,
or
or
you're fucking not on the hill.
you got to die underneath it to try to balance your.
Yeah. And how the hell did you get up the hill? Did you climb up that?
Oh, something
Unless
that
you-
There is a
Flight.
climbing rule.
something that I should mention about volume and hills, even in a 2D plane. If you a hill has the rule that it is elevated terrain. Elevated terrain is at least 1 inch. A wall is defined as being 1 inch tall and 3/4 of an inch wide. If you are on a hill, your volume is completely away from the wall. So, if there is a wall on the ground and you are standing on a hill, so if you toe onto that hill, but you are still within 1 inch of the wall because of your base size, that wall is doing nothing for you because you are automatically elevated, which is a minimum of 1 inch.
Right.
And that's
Unless
not,
the wall is
that's-
on the hill for
that
some
is not a measure the size of the hill debate thing. That is because you have elected to call this elevated, it is at least 1 inch.
Okay, so I want to round this off because we've said all the things that are awesome about other systems, and I want to talk a bit about why is War Machine so black? Why is Warhammer? Let's just put that name out there. Warhammer. Why do Warhammer terrain tables look so beautiful, and why does War Machine opt to go the other direction? What is it about War Machine that makes us make our tables simple and bold?
The short answer is because terrain does not matter in Warhammer.
Right.
I won't say that it does not grant bonuses. I won't say that there is not things you need to consider with terrain. But when you can shoot the entire length of the board, when you can shoot through a window, when you can shoot across a whatever, it doesn't matter that this piece of terrain is 6 inches from here and 3 inches from there. You can look through the branches, through that window, through the other window, and shoot the guy in the back of the head. And because it doesn't really matter, because you have an extra 6 inches, an extra 8 inches, whatever, you can have pretty interesting terrain. And since it isn't really affecting the game, it really is not a big deal. One of the unfortunate side effects of GW's particular structure as a game is that most of the competitive part of a 40K game, say, happens before you get to the table. It happens in list selection. in getting the particular janks to all line up so that your army is the correct flavor to win that battle. So once you get to the table and it's just, I'm rolling 87 shots and I get a -1 on one of those shots because you're in cover, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So when terrain, strangely, when terrain matters, the terrain gets worse because everything actually affects it. When terrain doesn't matter, you're free to put this beautiful stuff on the table because it's not going to affect the actual game.
The only effect is you have to move around it.
Yeah, it's really pretty set dressing.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to drop this contentious bone of contention because we've actually hit the death clock. But we have one more thing to do tonight before we round this out. It's time for
The lightning round.
10 of the most difficult questions in all of Warma Hordes, and they are here in front of me. I've spent all of 10 minutes writing these up. So, my wife now comments every night on Wednesday. She walks in the door and goes, "Did you write your trivia questions?" Because what happens is, right around 5:30, 6 o'clock, I go, "Oh shit, I forgot to write the trivia questions!" Luckily, I have Minty's help over there. We may not agree on the amount of terrain that should be on the board, but we agree on one thing, that he knows his dang Warma Hordes. Okay, question number 1. Name the 2 pieces of restricted terrain in SR 2015. Hit it.
Obstructions and linear obstacles.
1 point for Maelstrom.
Yeah, the guy with the file open in front of him.
Remember, Maelstrom is keeping track of you people on the board, so if you answer the question fast enough, you too will get some points. Eventually we'll have prizes for this when we get big and famous. Help us become more famous so you can win
we're
prizes.
willing to sell out if you've got a product and or service that we can give away.
That's right. Okay, question number 2. Restricted terrain cannot be placed blank inches of flags.
3 inches.
5 inches.
I didn't write it down.
Here, just a second. I got it open in front of me.
I didn't write it down.
Wait a second.
I'm awesome.
Wait a second. If he's got it open in front
That
of him.
was by memory.
I thought it was 2 inches, but
What was the question again?
how many inches can restricted terrain needs to be placed so far away from flags?
Restricted?
Yeah.
5 inches.
5 inches.
Nice.
The point goes to point. I thought
The
it was
reason
2.
you thought it was 2 is because of what it is in the new.
Oh, right.
That's 2 for me.
So that I screwed that up because I know things you don't, people. The new one lets you do it within 2 inches. Awesome, huh? All right. So question number 3: what is the POW on a grotesque assassin blade? I'm gonna have to give that one a G.
Yeah.
The POW or the P plus S?
POW.
I'm gonna say 6.
It is 4. It is 4.
I was going to end
Oh,
4.
yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I stomped your second hand.
Yeah, see, that's the lesson. Grotesques always shittier than you thought they were.
Question number 4. What is the arm on Trollkin Warders?
When?
Just
When
the
is the
base arm of Trollkin Warders. I didn't say the arm after it was under blah, blah, blah. G.
17?
It is 17. The base is 17. So that's 2 points for G.
Once I've stripped them of all their
1
shit.
point for Maelstrom. Yeah, once you get stripped of all the
I got 2 points.
You got 2? What'd you get? Oh,
The 5 inches and the...
I thought you got the 5 inches.
No, he did.
Oh, okay. Oh,
Remember,
whoa!
remember he had the
1
document
point.
open in front of him.
That's right. He has the
No, I'm
document.
not looking at it. It's... The screen turned off.
He had to memorize it for tonight. Come on, man. Question
That's my
number
job.
5. What size of terrain does the SR 2015 packet recommend? I'm going to have to get that one to Maelstrom.
3 by 6 inches?
It is 3 to 6 inches, ladies and gentlemen. Not by the way. But I'll give you the point because you were trying. It's
Yeah, that too.
3 to 6 inches square.
In length and width.
In length and width. All right, question number 6. So he's 3.
Yeah.
He's up on you tonight. He's on fire. Question number 6. Which Warlock's tier list is called Evolutionary Elementalism? Which caster is it?
We literally said this earlier.
Jason's like touching his breast.
My nipples are so hard I got 3 points right now.
Come on,
Most I've ever had.
Isn't it?
Did you
No, I
didn't
did
ask.
Give
not.
me your answer. What's your answer?
Calandra.
It is Calandra.
Good.
Oh, you even threw it out there because you thought you were giving him a gimme.
Thanks,
He's got 4 points.
He's taking him off the stream now. He doesn't get that point. The stream gets that point.
The stream gets that
right.
point. 1 point for the stream. Question number 7. What's the benefit of being completely within a trench? What is the benefit? Completely
plus
within.
4 defense.
Giving you 3 more seconds.
And
And his nipples are hard.
my nipples are really hard.
G,
I don't know.
what is the benefit?
Uh,
Completely within a trench you get.
you do get the bonus. Sorry.
What bonus?
It grants cover,
Grants cover.
which doesn't just mean +4. It grants cover. It also, you are immune to blasts that start outside of the trench.
Yes. Perfect. So now you have 2 points. 8 points for Jason, 2 points for you. Question number 8. What is Yaga Yaga's weapon?
What, the snake?
What does she use as a weapon?
The snake?
It is a snake. I will give you
dead.
half a point. It's called the Death Snake. But the fact that you knew
It's literally called the death
it's called
snake.
Death Snake. But the fact that you remembered that is fantastic. That you figured
That's
out
like that axe that's name is Sword.
Yeah. So question number 9. What is the range on Ace's rune shot cannon? Ace's rune shot cannon, what's the range?
With or without his own internal snipe.
Just the base range.
Base.
Always, unless I just define otherwise, the base.
I think it's base 14, isn't
It is base 14.
Damn.
Another point. You guys are evened up now in points, I think. I'm not really keeping track. And it doesn't matter.
George, how's that feel?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, final question of the evening, the Minty Fresh question of the week. If you're new to the cast, Minty is a long-time listener, our good friend Minty, who supported us from the
Local
beginning.
PG.
Local PG, runs great events with lots of terrain. Go to his games because you'll love him.
Yeah, we give him a lot of shit,
But he is awesome.
yeah.
Minty gives us the best questions,
Oh,
the
yeah.
toughest
Yeah.
questions, and that's why we save them for the Minty Fresh question of the week. And this week's Minty Fresh question of the week is: what was the name of Adeptus Ron's character Gorgon?
I would have to play Dirty Elves to know this.
Do 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 do.
I call him Jim.
It's not Jim. Do we have an answer from the board?
No, Steve.
It's not Steve. Do we have an answer from the
No,
board?
you just
yet?
said I had to name him.
We're
You
waiting-
did
we're
not
waiting
say
for
it had to be
board.
right.
Come
The
on,
name
board.
is
Come on, board. Medusa.
Uriel. It is Uriel. It is Uriel.
You should change that.
Gorgon.
It should be what is the correct.
What is the correct? Next time I'll define that. Yeah.
What is the correct name?
And
I
that
called
is-
him Jim.
That is
That is
this
perfectly
week's-
valid name.
That is this week's questions lightning round. The lightning round. Thank you for joining us on that one because it was a good one. Maelstrom and G, you guys are tied. That is a first tied
Yeah.
lightning round. And
Yeah, we're
Maelstrom
fighting-
Maelstrom only had to cheat.
He said,
savagely.
turning off his iPad.
He only had to cheat savagely. For that to happen. All right.
Thank God Mark Andre isn't
All
in the
right.
stream.
Local events. What local events do we have coming up?
End of this month, we have a big steamroller at Canadian Shield. There is a last chance qualifier for our local tournament series.
there.
Now, just
My wife says I can't.
a little bit of an overview for those of you listening. We have a tournament series here that lasts an entire year. There are 12 events, and the top 12 out of that, or top 14, sorry, out of that go to this invitation along with the last 2 people. We always have huge prizes for the people
Huge
there.
prizes.
Last year
was Colossals.
Last year was
Everybody got a Colossal.
Colossals. This year, we don't know what it will be yet,
G's
but
cock.
let me just say that Privateer Press did actually release these battle boxes.
Oh, you got the battle boxes. It's badass.
So maybe something's happening with those. Who knows?
Who knows? Maybe. Might be a thing.
We also have a World Ender coming up in February, one of the tournament series that Party Foul is running, as well as the actual invitational event itself is happening in February.
There's a ton of shit happening.
In
This
the
is my
auto
favorite
meta.
time of year.
Yeah.
I mean, during the summer, there's like a tournament every week, and that's awesome. But this is my favorite time of year because my wife lets me go to tournaments. That's pretty much it. That's all I had to say. No, there's a lot of stuff going on. We are going to try to go to Rochester, I believe.
Yeah,
Do
we're
some streaming.
looking at maybe Valentine's weekend.
Yeah.
The
Wait,
Meese-
Valentine's.
You didn't say it was Valentine's weekend. You were like, "What are you guys doing in
Myth Gorax is
mid-February?"
going.
I'm not going anywhere.
I told you guys it was February 13th.
Yeah, but we
The
don't.
Valentine's
until
Day
you-
massacre.
We didn't
until
think
you
about
say
that shit.
Valentine's, we don't
If you
actually know.
Valentine's Day,
You don't know when Valentine's Day is, man.
Sometime in
Of course
February.
not.
The
Facebook tells me when Valentine's.
You guys don't understand.
I
We are
remember
taking a
reminders
trip
set on my phone.
to find romantic things from the States for our significant others.
Yeah, that.
Yeah, it's not gonna happen.
Yeah, I hate to tell you this. That ain't gonna
Yeah.
happen. So it was
Shut it
nice of
down.
you to try. So we're not going to You're going to Rochester.
Yeah.
And then the good news is you might be single after that. So ladies, if you're watching, because all of the Muse on Women.
Muse on Women! That's their new cast.
That's our new cat. We should do that.
Muse
cast.
on Women, yeah.
Muse on Women. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this Gong Show has gone 12 minutes over now, and you
Oh,
can tell.
jeez.
We really only have...
We only have 10 minutes of good
We only
content.
have an hour, and then we all just fall apart.
Yeah.
Oh
So...
shit, my wife was watching. That's true. Okay, marbles. Period.
Yeah.
That's
Love
the-
you.
Get
That's
this
the
guy going.
ellipsis when you get 3 periods like that.
So, ladies and gentlemen, there are 5 different ways to find out more about us and to do stuff, to interact and be part of
If for
this
some reason you'd want to.
god awful shit show that we call a podcast. You can join us on Facebook. Just look up Moosemachine. We have a Mass Foo was the original. We originally were called something horrible.
As soon as I can beat that band to death and steal their URL, we'll have Moosemachine.
Yay, yeah. You can find us on Twitch under the PG_semi-auto magic channel, which is where you're watching this live. If you're watching it live, subscribe to that, because if we are doing quick off-the-cuff casts, and we often show live games
Or if we're
as well,
recording from a tournament.
or we're recording from a tournament, it's a great place to just get... It's like, we just try to make it like television. We broadcast shit all the time. You can find us on YouTube under George Schweitzer's channel, or just look up Moosemachine. You'll find us there. You can find us on SoundCloud if you want to download directly from SoundCloud, or you can find us on iTunes. You can subscribe on either one. I just changed it this week due to a comment on Reddit. Everything has been changed over in MP3 this week. I will now be broadcasting in MP3s, so those people that have old school MP3 players, we've fixed that problem for you. You can now get it, because I was doing an M4A before, because it was slightly better quality, but I am happy to put this out. I mean, yeah, because the quality
Like,
really,
we need better quality.
The quality really matters.
320.
You can find me on Reddit. I spend most of my days there. So if you have questions for us, you can just post it on Reddit. I'll be around. I'm under Video Animal, capital V, capital A. Last but not least, if you can't find us, you are doing the internet wrong, or you don't have internet. You live in a cabin somewhere, and somebody has given this to you on tape.
Ooh.
In which case,
Guys, keep circulating
cool.
the tapes.
Yeah, vinyl. There's somebody's got the one vinyl. That would be cool.
Oh,
Somebody should do that.
yeah.
All right,
Yeah,
ladies and
too
gentlemen,
much
I gotta wrap this shit show up. I've talked too much.
too much hipster.
Just got my goddamn voice back. So,
obvious.
PG Semi-Auto Magic, anything to say?
Longitudinal.
Oh, that's a lovely word. Over there, Maelstrom from the Running the Boards. Thank you so much again for doing our research, running shit, and being awesome generally, and giving us this awesome studio space that we have. Maelstrom, anything last
thanks,
to
Rob.
round this out for this evening?
I think Leo deserves the Oscar for The Revenant.
Oh,
It was a good movie.
Oh, and and who won tonight on the boards as far as points were concerned?
It was a friggin' 2 or 3 way tie, actually.
Wow.
Brad and Bashir kind of tied with 3 points each.
Sweet. Well, kudos to you guys.
Yeah.
Guys,
Good job.
we gotta get dice down, because our wives expect us to
Yeah,
shovel
it's
driveways soon.
bedtime.
It's bedtime. Good night, everybody.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Okay, now we just keep on streaming for a while. Those people watching the stream, this is where the best stuff happens. Pretty much just us drinking and
It
bitching
is.
about shit. And you get to listen to me pee.
As
I'm
Will
gonna
runs
follow
up.
him in with a mic.
We really got to give him the remote mic so we can hear him pee.
Yeah. I need another beer. Oh, I ran out.
You ran out of beer?
Yeah, it's the
Yeah.
worst.
Your second reading of... I could tell that you'd gotten through all 3 beers, because your second reading there
Yeah.
was kind of awesome.
Oh, man. Where did I put the bottle opener? That's the question. Seriously, though. Where did I put the fucking bottle opener?
No,
Hi, wife.
here it is.
Am I Do I need to sleep on the couch tonight?
Yeah.
That's what everybody on stream was saying. Looks
I
like
know.
he's sleeping
I was
on the
there.
couch tonight.
Becky and I moved Valentine's Day to the next weekend
Oh, that's
because
nice.
because neither of us like paying 40 times the normal price for anything.
That's not going to happen. to
So
us, is
we
it?
always do something little and cute, like
I can't go anyway. I don't have a
like
fucking
a
passport.
single. You don't. You
No,
should get a
I gotta
passport.
get my passport before August.
Yeah, that's kind of important.
Yeah.
We always do something like a little box of chocolates or something, just something stupid and little,
That's
and then we do big stuff the next weekend when it's all a third of what it would normally be.
I just have to pee like halfway through the podcast.
Yeah, I know. Me too.
You really got to drink your first 2 beers, go pee, and then come back.
I might have to just do like what we do in Alaska
Here,
with the Gatorade bottle, you know, like
Oh,
Yeah,
Come
no.
here. Come here.
No.
Come here.
she doesn't go on stream
Get over here. That's all right.
till we have the wife cast, where it's just we're all replaced by wives.
that would be News on Women.
Yes.
That's what when Becky finally does
You're
her all
behind the
girls.
camera. You're perfectly
the-
behind the.
You have to change the big cam if you're going to do that. She might spot you doing it though.
Yeah.
Well, it seems like the stream was active tonight. There was good stuff
There was
going
like
on.
8 viewers.
Whoa,
Nice.
8.
Now that's on us, right? If we
Brad.
did get
Hi,
hosted.
We
Brad.
met Brad.
Yep.
I remember.
Brad says
We love
he's trying
Brad.
to get a car so he can come here and play games with us.
That'd be awesome.
Visit. Hang out, crash on our couch.
Fair.
I have a room now.
Oh, see that? George has a room, Brad.
And now that we know you, Brad, and you're not just random dude from the stream.
Random.
Yeah, we'll actually let you in the house.
Now you're not a scary stranger. You're a scary friend. We know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel good about that one. You guys feel good about that one?
Yep.
Yeah,
You guys
feel
are
pretty good.
super passionate about your terrains.
Well,
You should have heard the fucking stream.
yeah, you think we're passionate.
Oh,
We're
you
passionate
were on the
about. I'm passionate
stream.
about.
You were on the stream, yeah.
Well, not all of it.
I'm passionate about keeping it simple because there's nothing worse than losing a game because terrain.
Minty
Like-
and I are gonna meet behind the school after this.
Have a fight.
Ain't that right, Minty? You
I
bastard.
think he should be forced to play Tom a dozen times. I think that
Have Minty
I
and
think that's a
Tom-
Deep water everywhere.
I think that's a problem that solves itself. I
Yeah.
think Tom and
Minty
Minty
and Tom
play
have
8
to-
times and none of them will put down.
35 games against each other, and
And never more shall the
They're allowed
deep
to
water
have-
be seen.
they're allowed to have as much terrain as they want.
Just big stack of terrain.
Yeah,
Right in the middle of the
it
board.
can all be fancy, and all the models can fall off of it and shit.
Minty's gonna sumo my ass. God damn it, Minty.
Every game will take 6 hours because they had to discuss what each
What-
piece
what
of
each
terrain
piece was.
Well, that's what Brad was saying. He's like, I don't want to spend half a fucking hour setting up terrain. Like, I want to play, goddamn it, drink some beers.
Well, that's the other thing is if you're playing Warhammer, you're playing like a 7-hour game. So
Well, you
Are their
gotta.
games really that long?
They can be.
Holy
because you're rolling like 50
but
die.
remember,
Yeah.
but remember,
Barrel monkeys.
but remember what your and wasn't it you and Russ that had like the 4-hour 25-point
No,
game?
last game it was like 15 minutes.
No, but you have had it. Think
Oh yeah.
40K is very much now a beer and pretzels game.
Yeah.
So you go into it knowing you
You're gonna be
only
there a while.
if you want to play that game for fun,
Yeah.
you play it against people who you know are not going to be dicks, or if they are, you know the way in which they will be a dick.
Well, that explains why we don't play it.
And then no, but
dicks to start
and what
with.
you expect to do is drink beer all afternoon and throw buckets of dice. Like that's
So it's like Risk.
yeah.
Basically
No,
playing
it's
just Risk with
it's
fancy
exactly like that, where it's.
I haven't played it since I was like 7, and I think it was 8 models at the time.
I want to roll more dice.
So it sounds like that Warhammer is the game for you.
No, I don't want. No, I just.
No, he
I
wants
just
to play it in
I
War
want-
Machine.
Yeah, I want to play it in War Machine. I just want more dice. I buy models to specifically let me get more
Dice.
Well, the other thing you could do is start buying bigger dice, and then it
Yes.
feels like you're doing
That's an idea.
Get some of them casino
That's what
days.
I'm
Yeah,
doing for
the casino
Valentine's
days.
Day.
Yeah.
And like heavy ones. that
Well,
were
when
like,
you go to
5
Rochester
pounds
on
of dice.
Valentine's Day, you could pick.
It's
It's
Yeah,
not
I
on
don't
Valentine's
have-
Day. It's the day
I don't
before.
have a passport. I need
Dude,
to get a
I am
passport.
not gonna do that. That sounds like
Boo words.
insta divorce to me.
Boo earns.
Yeah, no, that's fun and that's cool, and I like that. We should stop the stream.
Yeah,
All
anytime.
right, goodbye, everybody.
Good night, guys.
Good night.
Did you ever start recording? I guess not.
No, because I thought